Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. This is our Tuesday night live after-hours conversation that we have with you here. Well, literally just about every Tuesday night, unless, well, there's something that truly comes up. We haven't really missed one in a while. I think the last one was when we were traveling. But here we are, ready to do it again. This is your show. We'll try to answer your questions. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about what I want to talk about, but we will try to take questions as well. And it's so odd because I literally hit something on my computer and my screen with all my comments just about disappeared. So let's establish what we're going to do. First, like I said, my name is Scott Reich. This is Crime Talk. We started this channel several years ago because I was so frustrated with watching the evening news and basically no one would ever explain anything in the news story about what was taking place in the case. So we said, you know, we can give this a shot. Basically, so we will, here we go. We can do a little bit better. And we've just gone over 203,000 subscribers. So I'd like to think that somebody out there likes what we're doing. And we continue to grow, and we appreciate everyone, and we thank you. And for those of you who do not know me, maybe this is your first time viewing in, my name is Scott Reich, and I just started. I cannot believe this. Makes me feel like an old guy. Just started my 27th year practicing law, doing criminal defense work. So I'm not going to say I have every answer, but I got a pretty good idea of what the answer may be. And I'll give it to you just like I would a client. I will tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly regarding a case and what law applies to the case. Because, you know, oftentimes people think that attorneys just tell their clients what they want to hear. And sometimes the toughest part of my job is telling clients that the defense you think you have, it's not there. It's not going to work. And you have to be honest with them. And sometimes you have to have a hard conversation with people. And I'm telling you, as an attorney, when you have to sit there and tell a young client, you're going to go to prison. It's not a question of if you're going, but just a question for how long. You know, it makes you, it's a tough part of the job. A tough part of the job is telling the clients, you know, what they don't want to hear. But you will learn very quickly in your legal career, if you are ever an attorney, is that you just simply have to be honest. You can't oversell your skills. You can't oversell what you think you can do for a client. You have to be absolutely truthful with them all along. And people think, oh, attorneys can lie. No, we can't. I'm telling you, I see more people get in trouble with the court for not being honest with the court. You can't do that. You got to be honest. Lawyers can't lie. They can argue the reasonable inferences drawn from the evidence or the lack thereof, but you cannot lie. For example, you cannot put on perjured testimony. The client tells you did it. Guess what? That client's not testifying. Maybe as a defense of self-defense that he can testify to, an affirmative defense. He can say, yeah, I did it, but I was legally justified in doing what I did. But if they tell you they did it and they really wanted to do it and they got you're not going to be able to put them on the stand. Okay, so remember that. We have a couple of cases I want to talk about tonight that are still hot. And the story that we talked about today in our show was Ghislaine Maxwell. Give the woman a fair trial, okay? And somebody, I didn't know it, but I guess I said if she's a horrible person. I think I even maybe used the word witch. I don't think I used the word Wiccan. But I received a comment that with that I offended the Wiccan of the world, that there are, I think, 1.5 million witches in the world. So sorry about offending you on that. And then other people are like, well, why does she need a fair trial? She's already been found guilty. Because she didn't receive a fair trial, ladies and gentlemen. I do not care. That's called due process. All right? We may be becoming a third world country. Have you been to the grocery store lately? What the hell is going on? Okay? Third world America, I guess, is here we're coming. But if we really want to become a third world despot location. Let's just do away with due process. No matter who we think they are, how horrible a person we think they are, how heinous the crime may have been, and they may have done it, but you still have to give them due process of law. Okay? If you don't give them due process, you're just some third world banana republic, and some despot in power changes the rules based on his whim or her whim of the day. Okay? And one of the fundamental things about somebody receiving a fair trial is that you have to have a jury that is fair and impartial. Now, one of the comments that came up after we put today's show up was, well, the attorneys just didn't do their jobs. And I respectfully disagree. Let me tell you why. Okay? First, when a juror is brought in for a large case like that of Ghislaine Maxwell, they're giving a juror questionnaire. It's been approved by the prosecution, it's been approved by the defense, and given a stamp of approval by the judge. So when they show up, the jury commissioner says, here, you're welcome to juror duty today. Here's your badge. Here's a clipboard. Fill out this questionnaire. I guarantee it. I know it. That one of the questions was, have you or a close relative ever been the victim of a sexual assault? That's it, right? The juror has an absolute duty at that point to disclose whether they have been a victim or a close family member has been a victim, okay? It's not the prosecutor's job, it's not the attorney's job to say, oh, hold on a second, let me Google you. Where do you think the attorneys are going to supposedly find that information? You can't. That's why voir dire, okay, a French word that means to speak the truth, is the jury selection process. It only works if the jurors are going to give truthful answers. If the jurors are going to sandbag because they have some sort of agenda that they were a victim of sexual assault, and now this is their opportunity to get back at somebody that's charged with the same thing in which they were the victim of, and maybe they felt like the system didn't work well for them, then, this is their opportunity to do that. No. I think there's up to 3 jurors now. We know of one, the guy that gave the interview. There's another one that I know of for sure, and a third possibly. If you lie as a juror on your questionnaires, I'm telling you, you are the equivalent of somebody getting up and perjuring themselves in a court of law, okay? And you should be charged accordingly. Because when you go in there for jury duty, the judges have you stand and raise your hand under oath, and I know they do it in federal court. They make a big deal about everybody taking the oath in federal court. And they say, do you swear and affirm that you are going to answer all your questions honestly and to the best of your ability, blah, blah, blah. And everybody says yes. And if it doesn't matter if they didn't do it, they took an oath, right? They took an oath and they lied. And what is the difference if you found out a prosecution witness got up and lied? It completely destroys the whole process, or a defense witness, or the attorneys. Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, it means the system from the beginning is not fair. And when you start out a jury selection, the scales are supposed to be equal. And if and only if the prosecution presents enough evidence to convince a jury unanimously to each and every element of the offense charge beyond a reasonable doubt, then and only then should a defendant be convicted. But if the prosecution fails to prove any one of those elements beyond a reasonable doubt, it is those jurors' solemn oath and obligation to say not guilty. And let's be realistic. Nobody expects the juror to go in there in a vacuum and not bring in some sort of life experience, right? As a judge of credibility. But when you got a juror in there who's saying, well, let me tell you about my experience. And you know what? This juror says that because obviously they attack the memory of these victims as their stories have changed repeatedly over and over again. So this juror, apparently one, pretty sure two, and possibly a third, are in there convincing the others who are like, yeah, you know what? I wouldn't buy a used car from these people. Their memory sucks. They asked them a straightforward question. They didn't give they couldn't recall the answers that they gave to the FBI, which is kind of a significant moment in most people's life if you're giving a witness statement to the FBI, don't you think, right? And so these people for 53 hours basically wearing them down saying you have to convict because you got to believe the victim. You got to believe the victim, okay? And then the prosecution today to come up, well, Judge, if the defense wants the defense wants the verdict to stand, then we'll go ahead and drop those 2 perjury charges. Really? Wow, prosecutors, you are so freaking generous. No, I would tell them, no, Judge, rule on this. Then we'll set a sentencing date if you deny it. And it'll more than likely be reversed on appeal. So let's just do it again. But I still think the biggest thing is these jurors need to be called in and given counsel if they can't afford one. They need to be issued a show cause citation to basically say, show cause as to why you should not be held in contempt for not giving truthful answers. Okay? Give them an attorney. Have a hearing on it. Okay? But when these people confess to the newspaper that they basically lied to get on the jury and to convict Ghislaine Maxwell, that just strikes at the heart of our criminal justice system. And frankly, the fact that there are people out there saying no harm, no foul, just blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. And I have seen this before over my career. There's always those people out there, well, we know they're guilty. The prosecutors say, well, you're entitled to a fair trial, not a perfect trial. And, in light of the overwhelming evidence, what's the big deal? Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Constitution. You have a right to a fair trial of a jury of your peers. Bottom line. And people that don't want to do that, I just don't get it. You should maybe just walk over, find yourself a copy of a Constitution, and maybe you should just set it on fire because it apparently doesn't matter unless it is, I'm sure it was your case, right? Or it was your family member, you'd be all about having that fair trial, right? But since it's some lady that we don't like and we think she's done bad things and people don't get it. I just don't get it, okay? Just because you want somebody to have a fair trial, okay, doesn't mean that you are saying what they are accused of was a good thing, if it even happened at all, okay? And I've had to remind juries that many times in voir dire. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a referendum on whether drug crimes are legal or should be illegal or they're right and appropriate or they're stupid. That's not the issue. The issue is, did this event happen, right? Can they prove the elements? That's it. If you have a social agenda and you think you want to get on a jury, have a skosh of intellectual honesty and say, I'm not going to do this because that would be unfair to both sides. And if I can't be fair to both sides, then I shouldn't be a juror in this particular case. Why do you think they always ask, no matter what type of case it is, I don't care if it's a DUI, a sex assault, or a homicide case, they always ask if you or someone a family member you're close to, has been a victim of a sexual assault or murder of that crime, right? Bottom line. Why? Because everybody and their brother knows you're not going to keep that person on the jury panel if they are a victim of that. I've seen it in just voir dire. Certain crimes, they just bubble back up to the top. I remember once I had a lady. It was a sex assault trial, and there was this nice lady in there, and I think she turned out she was like 78 years old. And she put on her little questionnaire that she had been the victim of a sexual assault. So, of course, we bring everybody back into chambers and we talk to her, and the nice lady's there. And all of a sudden, she just starts breaking down. And she's like, I'm so sorry. She was embarrassed by the fact that she was doing it. But she goes, I haven't thought about this. Because she was like 78. And she goes, I haven't thought about this in probably 50 years. It just hasn't come up. I've literally tried to block it out of my mind. And coming back to jury duty today, it's brought it all back. Okay? And she became very emotional just thinking about it. And you could see, and we all flipped our little cups, which was the secret code to the court and the other counsel that we can excuse them for cause. Okay? And that's why you don't have people that have been victims of a crime. Okay? It's just not the right case for them. It's not saying they're going to be a terrible juror. It just says this is simply not the right case for them today. All right, let's take a look at this. Now, why did my computer freeze up? Oh, Miss Julie, would you mind taking that? I think I just froze up. Let's see here. Hold on here. Hold on. I'm trying to get to the comment sections. I thought I was there. And we froze up. Hold on one second. All right. So hopefully that was a fiery enough start to get you all interested. We can talk about Ghislaine Maxwell. We got this Chandler guy up in, Wisconsin, that the trial is getting continued because he came down with COVID. Chandler Halderson is his name there, and apparently he allegedly, killed his parents, chopped him up, and spread them around town. Real nice guy. We've got that case we can talk about, and we've lots of other things. Obviously, today we talked about Ghislaine Maxwell. That was all. Gets me all fired up. I just don't understand why people, we've talked about this before. We got the handy dandy Declaration of Independence and Constitution, and everybody should have a pocket Constitution. Okay, merch. Julie, new merch. Can you find us pocket Constitutions that we can give out to like our Patreon members or something? Because everybody should have a copy of the Constitution. You never know when you're going to need it, okay? And I just don't get why people think it somehow becomes okay to, the Constitution is convenient today, but if it's inconvenient for my position tomorrow, I'm just not going to, deal with it. It should change. It doesn't make much sense to me. And I read there was a case, it was decided by our Colorado Supreme Court, and it was here, just came out the other day. I'll see if I can't find this case, but it basically was a Make My Day case. And under Make My Day is basically if somebody comes into your house, you have a right to defend yourself with any force necessary. Nobody has to do anything. They cross the threshold of the plane of that front door and basically shoot first, ask questions later. I've actually seen cases where the intruder gets charged with criminal trespass, like usually when they're drunk and they go into the wrong house and somebody says, nobody's supposed to be in my house, I'm in fear, bam, and they shoot people, right? So there was a case where it involved an apartment complex and something took place in the common area. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, you have to read the plain language. And we're not going to change it just because it gives the result we want. Send the legislature to go back and do it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what I have stressed this and I've urged this for people to consider. Be careful who you elect, okay? They're the ones that write the laws. They're the ones that go write the criminal code. And oftentimes there's not a whole lot of input from rational people. It's a lot of emotion usually when these laws are passed. And it's knee-jerk reactions of, legislators, I must do something. I must show the people out there that, the small body, all 42 people that elected me, but I need to show that I am doing something to protect the people from the harm that has come. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, there are plenty of laws that fill in for just about every crime, okay? And frankly, if somebody comes up with a crime that nobody's thought of at all, I guess in theory they get that pass, okay? But for the most part, we've got just about every law you could possibly consider. Everything's covered. That's why it's almost so ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, it helps keep the lights on here at my law firm. But the reality of it is there's some stupid laws out there, and stupid laws should be ignored, okay? They really should be. And then eventually the legislator will change the law or repeal the law. But they're the ones that keep messing this stuff up. But so going back to this case, Colorado Supreme Court, the Supreme Court said, hey, this is the plain language of the statute. It says their home. It doesn't define common areas because this was in a an apartment building, but they were in a shared area, and they felt there was a concern, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, the defendant is entitled to the make my day defense. And the the prosecutors argued, well, this would give an absurd result. People in apartment complexes will go around shooting everybody. And next thing you know, it'll be raining cats and dogs and cats will like each other, and all hell will break loose, right? Well, that's not going to happen. But you have to give, whether it's the Constitution or the law, as it's written. Okay, I think I've told this story before. I had a judge once. It was a homicide case. Do an emotions hearing. I should be winning this motion to suppress. It clearly says under these rules, there was drafted by a bunch of lawyers at the police department that the police had to do A, B, and C. I said, Judge, they only did A and B. They didn't do C. And the judge is like, well, I think that there's some case law out there that says the word and could mean or, and so if they didn't do C, they didn't have to. It was an or. What do you think about that? And I remember I literally looked at her and I said, that is the most intellectually dishonest thing I've ever heard come from a court. And she kind of looked at me stunned that I would say that to a court, but I did. And it was the truth, whereupon she promptly ruled against me. But it's like, are you kidding me? When the rules clearly say A, B, and C, she says, well, A, B, or C is appropriate because we don't want the bad guy to go free. I mean, sure, the good guys aren't following the law, so let's bend them a little bit. So when you have people in authority like that bending the law to get the results they want, it kind of does, crashes and burns for the whole legal system. All right. See, Mari Stark. As sour it is, we must bite and give her a fair trial. Jurors need to suffer consequences. I don't like it either. Bite it hard. Yeah, I agree. And you know what? If these people had just been honest, this wouldn't be a big deal, and she would have been convicted. Okay? And I swear to God, in state court, normally my experience in state court was that you could speak with the jurors. When I was in the military, I don't think you got to speak with the jurors. But where I was, it was such a small base, it was like, okay, everybody knew what was going on anyway. But in federal court, you received an instruction basically that the jurors couldn't talk to anybody. And this is, I think, district by district. But the reality of it is, be careful what you wish for. If you start letting people talk to the jurors, it can create an issue. I just don't. That's really what it boils down to. You just never know what you're going to get when you talk to those jurors. And my experience is I don't talk to jurors anymore. I don't talk to jurors anymore after a trial. And you may say, well, why, Scott? Why don't you talk to jurors anymore? Well, like all things in life, Scott has a story for that. Let me tell you a story, okay? I'm a young attorney. I just got out of the military, and I was appointed second chair on a case. And it was a attempted homicide case, multiple counts of attempted homicide, first-degree assault. Basically, it was like a custody battle gone bad. Somebody was going to go get those children, sneak up in the middle of the night. Let's just say a gun battle broke out, et cetera, et cetera. So I didn't do the first trial. And the first trial, of course, I read the transcripts. And the attorney that did the first trial said, here's the deal. I spoke to the previous jurors, and they said that during the trial, they were all hung up about how the coat came off or couldn't have come off during this struggle. And they were really focused on that. And so I really want to focus on that on the next trial. And of course, I'm the young guy, like, oh, you betcha. I got this, man. The coat, man. The coat. And my position was, it was like, hey, originally I was like, okay, you're first chair. I'm a new guy. I'm just listening to you. I'm doing what I'm told, right? I'll carry that briefcase, but I'm going to be the best briefcase carrier there was. Make a long story short, we go to trial. Crash and burn. Not pretty, right? Not pretty at all. I think guilty on every count. And so the senior attorney says, come on, young lad, let's go talk with the juror and see what happened. And we went back, we were talking to the jury, like, okay, yeah, your client was just a really bad person, and wow, just really bad. Like, okay. And so the other attorney said, well, what about the jacket? We really focused on the jacket, the whole struggle about the jacket, right? And the jurors are like, yeah, we just didn't get that. We didn't understand where you were going with that, why that was important in any way. We didn't see it that way, okay? And so I learned at that very moment, each jury has its own life of its own. And when you select juries, you'll see sometimes you have a theme. Sometimes like, wow, we have a lot of medical professionals in here today. Oh, we have a lot of teachers today. It's very odd. But they have their own dynamics, okay? And if you get one or two strong personalities, they can take you this way or that way, right? It depends on the type of case. If you think you've got a strong scientific case, maybe you want those engineers on there, right? General rule, teachers, don't want them for anything child abuse. Kick them off. Anything regarding children, you don't want them on because they went into teaching because they love children. Get them out of there. You want a good child abuse case where like parental discipline, you get people with kids, okay? People with teenagers, all right? Because they're like, oh, yeah, I've been there. Oh, yeah, I always swore when I had kids I would never do it. I would never hit them, never use my belt. But when they were a teenager, they pushed me at one point, and I swatted them on the bottom. They've all been there. They've all had that belligerent teenager kind of thing. But teachers, worst. I remember once I had the chief judge in Denver comes up to me one day and says, Mr. Reich, I recall speaking with my daughter over the weekend that you excused her from the jury panel on your child abuse case in a different county. And I said, yes, Your Honor, I did. Kind of looking down, thinking, terrible. And he goes, good call, Mr. Reich. Good call. She was a teacher. All right. Had to have her go. Had to go. There's just some people you don't want, right? And then you have jurors. My favorite jurors, I'm telling you, I'm not going to lie, young people. They're pretty untrustworthy of just about everybody these days. Like you have people my age or older, they're like, a police officer is the most trusted person in the world. I've never had a bad experience with them in my entire life. They are highly trained professionals. They are trained in finding bad people, and whatever they do or say, I believe is the holy grail, right? First of all, we try to find that out. Boom, get rid of them. Guess what? Cops, professionals, doesn't matter. They're all treated with the same credibility. Doesn't matter. They all put their pants on the same way, ladies and gentlemen. And frankly, you'd be surprised in most jurisdictions, you'd be surprised how little of training you actually need to become a police officer. It's somewhat shocking, actually. We have jurisdiction out here in Colorado, Aurora. They've got some problems lately. Out there, all you need is the GED. Now, I'm not saying GED is a bad thing. GED is a good thing. but that's all they require. Some police departments require college degrees, so you just never know. And so you got to get rid of there's certain jurors you want to give. And then you have my favorite juror. All right. That's the juror that nobody really talked to. Didn't really have anything on their questionnaire that was offensive. They didn't respond to anything. When you talked to them, they kind of agreed with everything. And then they turn out to be what is known as plant life. Okay. They really don't care that they're there, but it's still better than anywhere else they have to be. And they'll just kind of go whichever way the sun is shining. Oh, sun's over here, plant life. Oh, we're shifting back over here. Yeah, plant life again. We're just going with that. That is plant life, okay? And then you have the jurors that will be like, oh, yeah, I've been the victim of assault many times, but I have no issues whatsoever. Everything is all good. And your first thought is, wow, that person really either A, needs a lot of therapy, or B, has already been through a lot of therapy to get them where they are today. You just never know. But the reality of it is we want a fair trial for every juror, regardless of the things that they've done. And let me tell you, does the Ghislaine Maxwell have a better shot if she gets a new trial? No. Okay? Because basically, it's a new trial. It'd be the equivalent of a mistrial. And what's the problem with that? Well, the defense has one shot to present their case. And now the prosecution knows what they're going to do and what they're going to say. And the prosecution just got to practice their case, and they figured out what works and what doesn't, and they'll streamline it the second way through. I would say the odds of winning for the defense on a retrial go down. I don't have any statistical data to prove this up, completely anecdotal, but I would say it goes down about 80 to 90%, okay? Because they know what you got, okay? They know what you have when you go back and do it. I had a homicide case once. I'm like, I'm winning this thing, okay? And I mean it. I am winning the case. Winning. Crushing it. Things are going so much better than I could even possibly have dreamt of. None of the witnesses are cooperating. They're all a bunch of gangbanger thugs. And they're like, man, I don't know nothing about nothing and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh, okay, this is great. And then they played a video. And this is before all the high-tech stuff. They played a video. And as the DA is rushing back, it was like slow motion. He's rushing back to hit the pause button on the DVR player. You hear the detective say, tell me about some other murders that blank has committed. And then he hits pause. Objection, Your Honor. May we approach? Right? The jury's heard this. Other murders. Oh, geez. You don't want to, but you have to ask for a mistrial. Second time didn't go on so well. Because if you don't ask for the mistrial, it's waived, right? So. All right, so let's talk about this Chandler guy, okay? Let me jump to this real quick. Chandler, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Chandler Halderson, Halderson, tests positive for COVID-19 second week of trial. In a surprising turn in the Chandler Halderson trial, the defendant has tested positive for COVID-19 and the trial will be postponed. The judge opened the floor to attorneys how they may weigh in how to proceed. The state said they deferred to the judge's decision. The defense told the judge that Halderson had been showing symptoms before December 29th, and his symptoms were subsiding after that, meaning they don't believe that he was newly infected with the virus. And they said that the defendant had not been near any of the jurors, and he had been masked up, as had they. Both the prosecution and defense attorneys emphasized They did not want a mistrial, right? Because it means they got to start all over again. And obviously, he's in custody. He's accused of killing both his parents, for God's sakes, and then chopping them up and spreading them around town. It's hard to find good kids these days, what the hell? And so the defense is like, well, let's just delay it, man. We don't want to start all over again. And I remember a little bit about this case. It doesn't sound great for the defense. That's probably why the defense is like, let's not start over. Let's just keep going. So, it's and I don't think it's the defense. I mean, they're just testing the guy from the jail. And some of this stuff is just getting ridiculous. Here in Colorado, I mean, if you ever Google, all the test results, I won't say the word because the Google censors come out. But if you Google and you look at like the positivity rates, it's like double what it was this time last year when everything was shut down, right? No courts were going on, no trials, nothing was safe to do whatsoever. And now here in Colorado, most of the courts shut down, so no jury trials for the next month, at least through January 28th. And now I saw that the judge in Denver said he's not going to extend that so they can resume jury trials, because I don't know about you, but at least where I live, I mean, everybody's just about got this whole Omicron thing, and it seems like it's passing through pretty darn quick. Huge inconvenience, no doubt, but I think people are just deal with it, which I think is so funny, because remember last year at this time we couldn't deal with it. Everybody got all the shots, and yes, full disclosure, I've gotten my shots, and we couldn't do anything. Life as we knew it was shut down. And then all of a sudden now it's like, okay, this new one is not really effective. Maybe it reduces your symptoms, but everything we've given you thus far isn't working, and they may have a shot for the Omicron by March where it'll probably have been burned out by that time. Who knows? Just saying, ladies and gentlemen, really makes you wonder if the people in charge have any clue what they're doing. Just saying. Don't want to go down that road, but it makes you wonder. Remember, if you look at everything it was this time last year, nothing. Couldn't do anything. Now the numbers are higher than they were back then, and it's like, well, okay, go ahead and do it. Right? And I know all those people getting sick aren't all the unvaccinated people. So, I don't know. What's the... Frankie, maybe I'll find this. Isn't there a site that says where you can find like lyrics of songs or something? Wasn't like a Grace Slick song or something years ago where it was like the lyrics were "When the truth turns out to be a lie" or something to that effect. And it just makes you wonder with so many. Jefferson Airplane. Somebody to love. There's some lyrics in there about when the truth becomes a lie or something like that. When the truth is found to be lies. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. When the truth is found to be lies. When people have been telling you for so long, this is it, we're all going to die. Or we're not. And when everybody said this is the truth. No, I'm telling the truth. No, I'm telling the truth. And it turns out, when the truth turns out to be lies, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that? And how many times have we seen that in the criminal justice system where everybody says, this is what happened, and we get to trial and it's not exactly what happens? Like, who do you hold accountable, right? I don't know. It's interesting. For sure. All right, let's take some pictures. Let's take some comments here. Robert, Chandler needs the insanity defense. Yeah, I mean, he chopped these parents up pretty good. and tried to spread them around town. I think he did a bunch of stuff. Supreme ruler of the universe. Let's see here. Halderson case sounds very interesting. I'm going to look at that for sure. White Rabbit, Mr. Dula. The defense hasn't done much. Well, I think they're still in the prosecution case in chief. Trial was supposed to go, I think, another 3 weeks. They're 2 weeks into it. All right. And don't spread the body parts to places you're affiliated with, such as your girlfriend's farm. Yeah. Close the barn door, horses guy. Yeah. I just appreciate how he tells it like it is. Doesn't sugarcoat it. It's one of the few here that actually still practices law. He could run circles around other lawyers. Well, thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. Yeah. I still can't believe it. 27 years. I mean, I literally can remember showing up at my first duty station as a young lawyer. I'm checking in, and then the first thing my command says, "Oh, you need to go check in at the general's office." Like, okay, great. So I go over to the general's office. He's like, "Hey, welcome aboard, but we're short on series commanders over in the recruit depot there in Parris Island, South Carolina." And okay. I'm thinking, what does that have to do with me? I'm an attorney. And the general says, "Well, you know what our mission is here, right? Recruit training." "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." "So I'm going to send you to be a series commander." I'm like, "Oh, swell." So I got to go take that little course. It was, I don't know, a couple of days or a week. Then I was a series commander for a couple of rotations through. It was fun. A lot better than being an enlisted guy when I was enlisted, I assure you. But I can still remember when I get out and I've opened my own practice and I'm going to court and I'm like, what the hell am I doing in here? And I remember there was this guy, he's now a magistrate judge, he's retired. He was with the public defender's office and he's going through the docket and he's like, "Who's this Reich or Reich, whatever the hell his name is?" And I kind of like, "That's me, sir. Who's your client?" "It's this client over here." "Okay, you got it." "Okay." I remember just being that young, inexperienced guy. And now I'm like that old guy. It's just weird. I don't know, because I don't feel old. I just don't feel old. Yeah, okay, Mary Haynes. "When the truth is found to be lies, all within you dies." Jefferson Airplane. I mean, really, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, not to get political, but you could throw that on both sides of the political parties, right? How many times have they told us stuff that turned out to just be a bunch of hogwash? Like, why would you follow them? Seriously. So, anyway, just saying. Let's take Susan. Gotta love the military. I'm in the military. I love the military, Susan Vaughn. We love the military. I had 12 years total in the Marine Corps. 8 enlisted, 4 as an officer, as a judge advocate. But still a line officer. Let's be clear about that. Not like some of those other branches where they're not line officers. And then my son, he graduated from that small school in Colorado Springs called the United States Air Force Academy and is a pilot in the Air Force. So we love the military. We do. The people at the top, though, make me a little squeamish. The people down lower, I trust them. I think they're doing a good job. The problem is when they move up the chain of command, it becomes more about being a good leader for your Marines, soldiers, sailors. It's more political stuff, right? You don't become the Joint Chief of Staff because you have some great command and knowledge. No, it's usually because you did a couple of tours as some sort of staff liaison for somebody in the Congress, and you got some good fitness reports or something along those lines, and like, hey, you've got what it takes to be a good political operative. We're going to make you, by God, you could be Chief of Staff someday, right? So, Just Jake. Scott, which is worse, a butt chewing from a judge or a butt chewing from an offended YouTube subscriber? It's a good question. YouTube subscribers, okay, obviously, everybody likes to be liked, but I am of the mindset and I am of the conclusion not everybody's going to like me. I've come to that realization a long time ago, even long before I had a YouTube channel, okay? As far as butt chewing goes, are you kidding me? I've had my butt chewed as a recruit from drill instructors, from senior commanding officers, to military judges. It's like, is this all you've got? Like, really? That's it? I'll take it. There's only one federal judge that really ever scared me. And unfortunately, he had to resign because of a little scandal he had with his ex-wife. But he was one of the best judges around. He didn't take crap from anybody. And that was the guy that just kind of screwed, he scared you. You're like, well, just show up on time. Don't waste his time and try not to say anything stupid, which are some pretty good rules in life, right? If you think about it, pretty good rules in life. Show up on time, don't say anything stupid, and, don't waste their time. If you do that, you are so far ahead. So, YouTube subscribers, I think, don't get me wrong. We love all our YouTube subscribers, even the people that always seem to let me know that they are unsubscribing because, Scott, I really liked you, but today I disagreed with the opinion you gave on this one case. Well, and I am done. How dare you disagree with me, Scott? Oh, okay. Like today, I offended the Wiccans, apparently. Scott, don't say that she's a witch. You're offending all the witches out there. And I appreciate the comment, but I was like, are you kidding me? Who would have thought that I was offending the witches today, right? Julie, Frank, we're going to have to come up with a list. Maybe at the end of the show, every show, we're going to have to say, like, we're sorry, so sorry for all the people that we've offended. Today we talked about robbers, murderers. We're sorry if we've offended anybody today. We'll just have a list of all the people, maybe in the docket. We're about to offend all of these people. So yeah, Bonnie just got here. What's up with Letitia? Letitia. And then we'll go to Lori here. Letitia Stout. Her attorneys filed motions. She doesn't want to go to court. It's too stressful. Wow. If I was the judge, I would say, Sheriff, here's a drag order. If she won't come to court, because guess what? The judge shouldn't be worried about her feelings. A defendant has a right to be at every stage of the proceedings and can consent now these days to be in video if she so chooses. But if not, if I was me, my courtroom, I'd be like, no, we're going to have proceedings in person. So there's no issue down the road that she was somehow barred or excluded during a critical phase of the proceedings. The motions that the defense filed in that case, they raise a couple issues. They file a motion to suppress the search. I get that. They have to do that. But their motions lacked any specificity whatsoever other than their motions basically saying that it was a general search warrant, which, frankly, it's pretty generic, and they may have a shot on that one. And the other thing I think is interesting about the Letitia Stout case is that the lead detective went and got a wiretap for her phone, okay? And this is the problem, my humble opinion, with wiretaps is that they are so easily given these days, and they shouldn't be easily given. They are invasion of people's privacy, and they should be not given out lightly. And what the prosecution has to show and the affidavit has to show is that normal investigative techniques. What's normal investigative techniques? Well, that's doing cop stuff. Go interviewing witnesses, maybe convene a grand jury, issue subpoenas, offer immunity to people to talk. Those are normal investigative techniques. And only then, and when those all fail, then maybe you should be able to get a wiretap. But it has to be a little bit more than just, wow, we've hit a dead end, so let's go do a wiretap. A wiretap is for when you are trying to get in the highest levels of a drug organization, the mob, where you're trying to figure out who's calling the shots. I mean, it just shows you how lazy law enforcement has become. But the ironic thing is that when you have to show the normal investigative techniques have failed, and basically there was no necessity for it, right? And it's funny because when you do that, you basically have to say, hey, judge, they didn't have to get a wiretap against me because the evidence is so overwhelming against my client, they didn't need it. Now, we went through way back, and I don't know if Frank can find the link to it, but we went way back and we did a timeline on Letitia Stout case. We went through the affidavit, literally line by line, okay? She gave so many different versions, to, he must have been kidnapped, to home intruder. I mean, it was just ridiculous, okay? So, Letitia Stout, she's, in my opinion, I have not met with Letitia Stout. I have not spoken with her. I've not reviewed the discovery, just so we're clear. In my humble opinion, this looks like a case where a defendant may have some mental health issues, or maybe is just an absolute malingering delayer of the proceedings, somehow thinking that she's going to gain some sort of tactical advantage, okay? And what most people forget is that everybody in the court system that's been doing this for a while, they all know what a malingerer looks like. Remember, people like Scott, Lori Vallow's malingering. She's been down at state hospital for 6 months, and why is she not coming back? If she was malingering, she would be back and found competent. She's not malingering, okay? Letitia Stout was interviewed, I think, 2 times, maybe a third, okay? Or they want to do another third as it relates to her mental competency to go to possible defense. But not NGRI. They're not going NGRI, but maybe some sort of diminished capacity defense, okay? And they've all said she's competent, okay? Even the professionals that the defense has hired, okay? She's competent. Move on. Bottom line. I understand the defense attorneys are doing what they're doing, but we've all seen this before. I mean, let me guess. Letitia Stout, a day before trial, she's going to fire attorneys again. She's going to need more time to do it. Remember, she was going pro se there for a while. There's just some people that play games. They understand what their fate is. They don't want to accept it. They don't want to be convicted of it because, they're a good person. Well, if you killed somebody and is not justified under the law, maybe you're not a good person, right? And sometimes people just have to deal with that fact. And I'm sure her lifestyle accommodations will be much more comfortable at the Department of Corrections than they are at the El Paso County Jail. So you might as well just get it over with and move along. Lori says hi, and she says, Chandler, let me move here to the Chandler. A bunch of stuff jumped when I accidentally hit it. Basically, it says this Chandler kid was a making of his own parents' doing that where was it? Basically, let the kid play, video games 24/7. Let's see here. I'd buy a pocket constitution. Yeah, I think we should do that. Pocket constitution. Don't say Omicron, say unicorn. Don't say pedophilia, say potato. That's how that stuff works without talking about it. Okay, good call, Charity. Good call. I have just resigned myself to the fact that YouTube hates the truth, okay? We are not talking about cases that are not being talked about on the evening news, right? But yet YouTube, in its hypersensitivity, over awareness that they could offend anybody or anything, says, ooh, if you mention those words up there, the pink words, the pink words on the pink piece of paper that Julie has put up here, don't say any of these words, Scott. You will get us demonetized as far as we can tell, okay? You want me to tell them to you? Sure. No, I can read it from here. I still got good eyesight. According to YouTube and Facebook, if you use these words, you will be demonetized. Now, tell me if it's a little difficult. Tell me if it's a little difficult not to mention these words when you talk about a true crime conversation, right? Here we go. Murder, /kill, blood, gun, shoot, stab, knife, dead, death, raped, sexually assault, suicide. You say those, boom, demonetization, okay? And we've had some good months, okay? We've had some good months where it's like, wow, this is, you know what? If we could build this a little more, maybe Scott, he'll become one of those non-practicing lawyer YouTube guys, right? That'd be kind of nice, right? And then YouTube does its thing, and you put out a video, it gets good reviews, and you make $30. Yep, $30, ladies and gentlemen. I know everybody thinks if you're on YouTube, you must be rich. It's like if you own your own business, you must be rich. No, not the case. Yes, we've had, I don't know, how many views do we have? What are we up to? Right now? 37 million or billion? 37 million views. I was like, wow, that'd be great. But they demonetize us for the first 3 days. And, when you do a daily program, this stuff's not there. So, when people ask, like, oh, I can't believe this guy's... It's not for me, ladies and gentlemen. These two people off to the side, they would like to get paid something, and I would like to have this pay for it versus out of my pocket. Just saying. So we'll see. Anyway, we digress. Sandy. Scott, do you think the judge will okay Letitia's request to not show up for court? I hope not. I hope not. I demand a shirt with those words. Was that the... Oh, yeah. Yes. Crime Talk. We say all these words. Drive the YouTube demonetization people crazy. And I think Julie and Frank every now and then too, because I say stuff and they're like, ooh, don't say that word. Don't say that word. But we can't necessarily sell out, and we got to try to do it, but God, we can't sell out to the man, because if we sell out to the man, then we're no better than the man. So, yeah, Lori Stewart would love to be able to, see him YouTube more. I think we should just go live every day from 8 to 5. Just see how things work out. Ooh, Nannerchan, put the words on flashcards. I like that. Yeah. She was the victim of a, and they used a. I like it. Let's see here. The defense for the kid in Wisconsin who has COVID said he had it and tested positive on December 9th. Why did they continue with the trial and potentially exposing the jurors? Yeah, I mean, let's face it. I don't know. I don't know. The reality of it is that, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sure that kid doesn't care. He probably knows his fate. What's a little of that stuff for him or to everybody else? And, I'm not trying to minimize it, but it seems like this latest variant is not as potent as the last one. And like I said, I assure you, after going through COVID over a year ago, the guy that wants to get it the least of anybody is this guy right here. Worst 10 days of my life. Don't want to do it again. But I'm not going to live in fear. All right? We got to move along. That's the way it is. Ooh, uncivil law. He's coronavirus, January 6th, Patriot, FBI, conspiracy, Fauci. Those words will probably just get me deplatformed. You're helping Yurt. We're like a little Sherpa. Thanks for all the heavy lifting on civil law. I guess that's that. The Healthy American Channel does. Did Mr. Rice get Michael Palmer's super chat? I don't know. Did I see a super chat go by? I'm sorry. Did I? Oh, I didn't see. It's not there anymore. How do I pull that back up? Does anybody know? Pop out chat, toggle pat. Oh, I'm sorry if I missed a super chat. I don't really ask for super chats, and sometimes they go by. Sometimes the feed freezes, so to speak. But I try to catch those if I can. Let me see if I can go back up. Let me see here. Yeah, CrimeTalk. I would like to get paid. Yes. I agree. Demand of those words. So I'm going to go back through here. I'm going to look for that super chat. So let's see here. Yeah. Participants, pop out chat, toggle time starts now. Some messages are potential spam. Okay, let's do live chat. I'm going to see. Let's see if I can find. It doesn't go all the way back up for some reason. Okay. Maybe somebody can help me with the super chat and re-ask it. State what it is, and I will answer that down here at the bottom.
It had something to do with if someone was making up information about you.
About me?
No, just a general question.
Okay, yeah. Ruth, my husband tested positive yesterday. I'm trying to stay away from the germs as much as I can. I agree, but Ruth, you're probably going to get it. Just reality. There's 3 types of people in the world. Those that have had COVID, those that have it, and those that are going to get it. Just get used to it, okay? I don't think it's going away. Hopefully, though, it'll burn itself out, and we all won't get as sick as much every time. It'll be like the flu. Let's see here. One channel says if you don't say those words in the first 10 to 15 minutes, they'll quit watching and demonetize you. I don't think so. I don't think there's actually a real person that works at Google, okay? I just don't believe it. I have never, in 4 years having a channel, never spoken to a real person at YouTube. I mean, I think we've got an email from somebody from Facebook, right, Julie? But we've never actually spoken to a real person. I think there's just one big computer that works for all of them. That's it. And whatever shows up in the algorithm, that's it. Michael Palmer, please retype what was said in the super chat and we'll try to get answered. Yes. I think it had to do with something about what is someone making up something about oneself. Scott, are you drinking tonight? Yes, I am. Purified water. Okay? And just for the record, some people think, hey, Scott, have you been drinking tonight? You slurring those words? No, I don't drink, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just be clear. I don't drink. All right? No, I've never had a problem. Now, don't get me wrong. I come from a long lineage of alcoholics, but I just don't drink. I learned a long time ago in the military that it just made me feel bad. And when you have to get up really early in the morning, you need to be able to be on your game, particularly when people's liberty is at stake. You can't show up not feeling well and on your game. So I just stopped drinking. Now, what is my vice? What is my vice? Now, don't get me wrong. Do I still go to a good whiskey and cigar dinner once a quarter? Yes, I do. Where they rotate. And do I drink at those? Yes, I do. I sample them, but I do not get drunk. When I go to a special event, do I drink some champagne? Yes, I will, but I do not get drunk. I don't think anybody can say they've ever seen me drunk except maybe from high school or something like that. It's just not my thing. Uncivil law, I drink a lot. Well, good for you, uncivil law. My vice is I love good cigars, okay? And unfortunately, one of the cigar stores that I go to was right up here in Louisville. And it burned down in those fires. Can you believe that? I mean, scary stuff. And a guy that I knew, he was a public defender. He's now a federal public defender, lost his house. He had a GoFundMe page, and maybe that's what we should do. You know, maybe our Patreon money for 1 month, we'll just donate to the fires. Because, you know, when you're blessed, it's always good to help people out. You know what I'm saying? All right. Wow, can you believe that? I don't see the super chat coming through. Don't like the uncontrolled. I may not be drinking tonight just for the uncivil law. I may get drunk tonight just for the hell of it. Let's see. Happiness is wise channel. Let's see here. Oh, Prosecco. Now, Scott, ignore them. They're making up drinking to harass you. Although that's another travesty of the world, okay? And that's the other thing why we're becoming a third world America. Okay? There's two things that need to take place here in America, all right? And, all right, this may be a short right here. There's two things that need to take place in America right here. First, the supply chain for sugar-free Red Bull needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed now, okay? Do you realize how hard it is to get a sugar-free Red Bull right now? It's nearly impossible, okay? There's a shortage. I don't know what the shortage is. Maybe it's the bull stuff that they put in it. I don't know. But the reality of it is they need to fix it. And the second thing that needs to take place, because I've been waiting for this for over a year now, year and a half, I think. Top Gun needs to come out now. Okay, I think it's supposed to come out in June or July of this year. They delayed it again. That's what Frank says. Top Gun needs to come out. Okay, so Tom Cruise, I'm talking to you. Okay, I know you love that movie. I love that movie. I can tell you the first time I watched that movie, I was in Huntington Beach, California, the summer of 1987. I watched that movie. I went there with my uncle. I was working there for the summer. Okay. Everything you need to know about life, other than watching Crime Talk, you can learn about it through life by watching Top Gun. America needs Top Gun, okay? So I don't know, maybe we can start a Gov.org or something to ask them to bring it out sooner. I think it'll be a huge hit. We will rally everybody to go watch it in the theaters where it was meant to be watched, not at home on a little TV, but the big screen experience, okay?
Michael Palmer.
There we go. Okay, let's see here. Let me see where it is here. I just retyped it in the chat, Scott. Okay, let's see here.
He's got a brown circle with an M. Michael Palmer.
Michael Palmer. I'm looking for it, Michael. Hold on a second. Sorry. True Helper. Julie, there's Michael Palmer's question above. Let's see here. Okay, Michael Palmer. What can you be done when you know someone is filing false affidavits in court, as well as motions to intervene, etc., when you have video evidence that they are lying as they admit to it on tape? Well, you can file counterclaims. Well, hopefully you'd want to get the case or the action that they're involved in right now thrown out by that evidence. You could also file a separate action, or if you hasn't, not early, maybe file like an abuse of process or malicious prosecution type of case, even in a civil case, a malicious prosecution, and get fees and costs associated with that. If people are lying, then you can't. We can't have that. And if they're filing false affidavits, that's not good either. And if they're on tape lying about it, and then they're saying the complete opposite, that's pretty good evidence that they're not telling the truth. I think the video would be the best evidence versus the affidavit that was written by the judge. So hopefully, Michael, that answers your question. All right. Now, here's what we got to do. Unfortunately, yes, now Tom Cruise. That's right. Yes, uncivil law. We need to figure out a time to do something. Yes. Jenny Hicks, no Top Gun. I don't care what someone's religion is. Top Gun is a great movie. Top Gun is going to be, it's a good one too. Don't care. Don't care what his religion is. I don't care. Anywho, all right. That's where we're going to have to leave it tonight. Why? Because we have to go do our Patreon show. So if you haven't joined it as a Patreon member, even at the most minor level, less than 1 cup of coffee at one of those fancy drink places that I only go to when I need to pick up a drink for the lovely Miss Kristen. And you can join us. The conversation will continue. And you can call in. And guess what? We're going to have the Magic 8 Ball. Maybe we'll ask the Magic 8 Ball question. The question here, I'm pointing my finger at the Magic 8 Ball. I don't know. It should be something about Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't know. Maybe this Chandler guy, that about his getting COVID, did he set it up himself? Doesn't matter. There's so many things out there, ladies and gentlemen. We could do that. Well, I think you just need to come join the conversation. So come join us. Thanks for watching for our Tuesday night after dark conversation. Do it every Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Let's do it again soon. And you can come join our Patreon show here in just a minute. So we'll see you next time on Crime Talk.